Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 4 building tutorial. Today we're going to be furnishing Croup Manor and getting it all decorated and cleaned up for the person who's going to be living here. So the first thing we're going to start with is the laundry room slash basement. You'll see that I'm going to be using the rug glitch a lot in this. As you see here, I use the rug glitch to get the wash and dry in the proper spot. So I'm also going to be using different mods like the Creative Clutter to get a sort of mix of pre-war and post-war furniture that's, that would look good in this house that's been settled in after pretty much 200 years after the bombs fell. So there's definitely going to be a mix of pre-war and post-war, and I'm going to use some of the furniture from the Workshop Rearranged as well as some of the furniture from Creative Clutter, which will definitely be able to fill some of the spaces up, and we'll be able to, have a bit more in terms of decorations and furnishing for the house. So as you see here, I'm working on the basement area. That's basically the entrance part to the actual room. Since that room I can't use under Croup Manor, it's actually, I decided to basically just leave that door open and, not worry too much about it. I mean, you could put some boards up. I don't think it really matters. Here I'm doing some little decorations here, just adding little by little of how you could pretty much use the space. You don't necessarily have to follow what I do. I'm just showing you basically how I did everything. Here we're going to throw in a Mr. Handy cardboard box. And I wanted the space to be a bit more cluttered than usual, so I decided to throw in a bit of boxes in here and, make sure it's all sort of a bit tight and cramped in a way. It's just so there's there's plenty of stuff in here, there's plenty of supplies, and, pretty much that's it. Here we're actually going to get a warehouse cabinet and go ahead and put it there. And here we're going to move on to the kitchen. Now, the Workshop Rearranged mod comes with these really cool counters, and they come with those top counters that you actually see in some homes in Sanctuary and some of the different places around the Commonwealth that are actually really good, and I definitely do recommend to use them because not only does this one have running water, they're actually really good to fill up some spaces as well. This working kitchen stove comes with the Creative Clutter. It is a bit of a pain to get it in the spot where you want it to, but it worked out just fine for me. As you see, it also has these stocked refrigerators, which I really do like and I really do recommend to use. Mostly because the fridges tend to be empty, and, if there's obviously stuff inside, it looks a bit more full, like someone's living here, and it doesn't look like it's abandoned in any way. As you see, I'm using the rug glitch a lot to basically get these in the position I want it to. It's probably going to be different for a couple of people, and depending on the mods you use, because of the different spaces and maybe the way the mods are set up where you can't place certain things somewhere. But I managed to figure it out and get everything how I like it. So here I'm putting in some of these clean rugs. Now these clean rugs aren't really good for this sort of setting, but I think they came out really nice because necessarily I don't like the rugs that are given to us in Vanilla Fallout, how they're sort of like these folded over rugs, like nobody knows how to stretch out rugs in a wasteland. So I decided these clean rugs are a bit better, and I like it a lot, so I decided to keep it. Here we're actually getting a little bar going, and then we're going to position the rugs so there's a bit more space and the rugs aren't in a sort of area where it's in the way in any way, shape, or form. So Creative Clutter allows me to put those mops and stuff. And then here we're going to put the main kitchen table. I was originally going to choose a fancy kitchen table, which you can do, and there's nothing against it. And I actually would recommend, if you're going for a more fancy theme for someone who is maybe a bit more important in the wasteland, I would definitely recommend it. But this is also going to double as the home of the person who I actually am going to reveal in the future of this video. Actually comes up in the next room that I do. So I chose this because it's a bit more family friendly, and considering the person who lives here really just lives with his family and doesn't really, this also doubles as, the main home for his family. So it's not meant to be so, intense and so fancy. But here we are, we're actually going to move into the main office. Now, as you see in the background there's actually a wall hanging, and you might be able to see some of the other photos, which I decided to put up beforehand instead of actually, putting it up during the build. I actually did that with most of the things in this house, just so we wouldn't take too much time on that. This house actually belongs to the General of the Minutemen. Now, why I chose the General of the Minutemen to live in this house is because this house is pretty big and it's pretty isolated, and it reminded me a lot of the White House in terms of what it could be used for, and how someone would maybe live here with their family, and the leader of the Minutemen would live here with their family, and they would basically make all the presidential decisions here. So this is sort of like the White House of the Minutemen, except it's in Croup Manor. Here I'm getting all the different safes and stuff, all the different containers and stuff, just so I don't have to scroll through everything one by one. And I'm furnishing it up by putting a bit more, some file cabinets here and there. So, yeah. As you see there, these file cabinets really do fit in quite well, as opposed to in the vanilla game where they don't really fit in the best together, and you sort of have to use a rug glitch to put them in the spot where you want it to. I decided to put a first aid and a military trunk is because, well, the sole survivor, the male sole survivor at least, is ex-military, so I figured maybe he had a military trunk in the attic and he moved it, or he had it moved here to, Croup Manor, where he now resides. So here I decided to put the American flag as well as the Minutemen flag. And we are going to add a little more. We're going to add a couple of seats in front of his desk, because this is technically his main working desk, but this is also where he maybe spends most of his time talking to, maybe in meetings, talking to different people. There's also the, office in the castle, but that's for when he is maybe staying at the castle as opposed to staying at home. There's obviously a wet bar here. Maybe he wants to share a drink with, a faction leader or an influential member of the wasteland, as well as a couple of couches. I decided to use this nice office couch because I really do like it. And then I added these little tables around here, and that's pretty much it. Now, I would like to clarify that there's not going to be a final tour in this video of everything I've done. That's mostly because, number one, I missed two things, and then I missed one floor entirely, and I did that on purpose just so you guys can really use your own ideas, and I don't want to dictate how you guys would do that second floor. I am going to show you guys the bathroom that I did. This is pretty much I'm using some of the conduit, which looks a bit more like pipes. Here I thought those logic gates might look good as like water valves, but I decided against it. So I am going to design the bathroom, and then it's pretty much I'm going to rug glitch everything into its proper positioning. So it's relatively simple to do. As you see, I get it all in the right spot, and I try to match up those valves perfectly with, you know, with the sort of faucet with the pipe there, just so there's no, just so it doesn't look too off. I did have a little trouble with the bathroom because I didn't really know how to utilize the space too much, but I do end up figuring it out, and, you know, I gotta make sure that it looks like there was an explosion or something here that made the walls fall off, but also that the bathtub and the different pipes and stuff just didn't get moved when the wall fell off or something like that. So I do decide these sinks look, and the sink, the mirror, you know, pretty much everything looks pretty good because, you know, I wanted it to be sort of pre-war looking, like this was here from around before the war. But yeah, as I said, there's not going to be a final tour of this video. It's just going to sort of cut off after I do the final room, and the reason for that is because I'm basically, usually my final tour, I decorate it, you know, what I built even more. But in this case, I'm not really going to decorate it even more, and whatever you'll see in the final tour pretty much. So whatever you won't see here in this video, you'll definitely see in the final tour. So here we have a post-war bed. This is going to be the sole survivor's room. He is the general of the Minutemen, so I decided he deserves some amount of privacy, so I put up some curtains around. You'll definitely see it as I go. And then I figured in my playthrough, and I don't know how you guys would, you know, how you guys did your playthrough, but in my playthrough, I saved Sean. And there's a reasoning for that I probably won't get into in this video. But I saved Sean, and he gets his very own room as well. So you'll see how I designed that. I used some of the toys from the Creative Clutter to basically design Sean's room and pretty much, you know, get it looking good. I also put a lot of first aid kits around, just because I figured an influential figure like the Minutemen General would definitely have, you know, some first aid kits around just in case he gets an injury or, you know, anything really happens, just so he, you know, is safe pretty much. So we're going to be using some of these clean chairs. We're going to be using some other clean stuff around. The good thing is Creative Clutter allows two different things. They'll give you an option sometimes of pre-war and post-war. And I do mix pre-war and post-war a bit. But, and I definitely will be using pre-war a lot more when I go into my future builds. And you'll actually see what I do with my future builds after, and what I intend to do soon, and why I'm going to be using pretty much pre-war. But I do like using pre-war and post-war. As you see, there's a pre-war US flag. I decided to use the post-war because, you know, I would imagine the sole survivor got it from his house, maybe, but, you know. So as you see here, we're still filling up the room. I give a general idea of the paintings you can use. I really like these paintings, honestly. Just a little side note, I think the paintings in Fallout are really nice. I don't like the modern ones too much. I actually like these other like paintings that they're sort of landscapes and stuff that I really like them. So you even get red slippers with the Creative Clutter, and you get also a bathrobe, which is really cool. I was planning on putting the bathrobe up, but the walls, for some odd reason, just wouldn't allow me, so. But yeah, I managed to pretty much, here I'm just looking through right now of what I'm going to do. But yeah, I managed to pretty much decorate this with most of the creative clutter, this is a mod I highly recommend. And if you guys definitely want to create something and give life to your settlements and give life to your homes, I definitely recommend this mod. Even if it's not meant to be pre-war or post-war, you're going for a specific thing, they have all of it. So here's supposed to be Sean's room. Now, I didn't mention, but this is actually supposed to be, this house definitely would have been taken, maybe this house would have been discovered and furnished, maybe post-game after, bit of spoilers here, but after the Minutemen nuke the Institute. So I figured, well, maybe after they sort of got their priorities and decided, well, maybe the general deserves his own place instead of being, on a military base constantly. So I do decide that this would be Sean's room, this little room that I made earlier. I was originally going to make it into a private office, but then I decided, Sean's going to live here. It's going to be pretty well because it's going to be the general and his new family technically. So he gets a lot of stuff. He gets a lot of different containers and stuff. His room isn't as big as the general's, so it shouldn't be too hard to decorate. As you see here, I'm just playing around with the different dressers and stuff and getting things in the right spot. I decided he should probably get like a little desk as well. There's these wood counters that I really do recommend, that I really like a lot actually. They make good for desks, but maybe if you don't want to use some of the bigger desks that are given to you in the game, you could use these wood counters that I think look perfect for anything really. Even if it's just a little thing to fill up an area, I think it looks great. So here we're actually gonna jump to Creative Clutter, and Creative Clutter actually comes with a lot of toys, and I actually really do like it. So I decided, well, let me use some of these toys to my advantage, fill up some of this different area, put things everywhere, and, it still would look pretty good. But yeah. Anyway, this should be about it. Thank you guys for watching. I had fun making this. I had fun decorating. It's been, I love using the Creative Clutter. I'm able to add so much flavor to my settlements. So thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video.